Hey guys, I just wanted to do another solo GM commentary run because I think it was 2 days ago I uploaded an Ionic Sentry Verity's Brow Arc Warlock build, and I was genuinely surprised to see that video do as well as it did, or at least as well as it did for a channel of my size. So I hope this is me reading the room right and guessing that these kind of like niche, off-meta builds are something that people want to see a little bit more of being used in high-end content like solo GMs. And honestly, I am more than happy to do that because I fully understand that the upload schedule of my channel for the main builds is slow. And I don't really like this place just becoming a complete ghost town whilst I work on main build videos. And also, I think this is a good way to gauge a build's strength. I normally go on record and say that the builds that I make can be used in the high end. That's something that I have as a kind of sales pitch in the beginning. And I genuinely think that can I build solo a GM is a good metric of, yeah, yeah, this is a build that can be used in the high end. And this build as well, it was weird. I appreciate anyone who watches any one of my videos, and in all honesty, it's much more whether somebody gets something out of a video useful that I care about. That could be an entire build, that could be maybe a bit of information that they learn during it. The amount of views something gets doesn't really bother me. But if I was to look at just that, for example, the most recent build video I did compared to the most recent solo GM I did, they basically got the same viewership. So I really do hope this is me kind of reading this right and seeing that people want to see a little bit more of stuff like this. And honestly, so for example, that last GM compared to how well this video did the build video for what you're seeing on screen did by views, it did much better. So hopefully this is a way of kind of showing that off and saying, look, here it is. And as well, it feels so nice. Sometimes you get comments on the videos where it's like, you probably can't use this in the high end though. And I can go, yeah, proof, there you go. So, no, I like doing these. And as well, as I said, it's nice to just be able to pad the channel out and not just have these like really big 2 to 3 week upload schedule gaps with something a little different. For the build itself though, this is a seriously cool build. And as far as being something that you wouldn't expect on Prismatic, or at least Prismatic Hunter, absolutely. Spirit of Coyote and Knife Trick are things that you do not see people really talk about, at least not close to the word of meta. This is not a meta build by any means, but I don't mistake it not being meta for it being bad. This is a really good build, and it is super combo heavy and interaction heavy. I love playing this because there's so many different things you can do. There's ignition tech, there's freeze tech, you've got ways to massively damage boost your melee. Transcendence is insane in this build. It has got one of the most natural feeling transcendence bar gains I've ever had. It has got absolutely no reliance on specific weapons. Please don't watch this video, see that I'm using Icebreaker and just go, oh, I can't put this together, I haven't got Icebreaker. Not needed at all. I was running this with Vex Mythoclast before, and it was doing absolutely fine. It's just, Icebreaker is a gun that I really like, and obviously this is quite a freeze-heavy build as well, so, you know, it just kind of fits in as another option, and it does good crit damage as well, so against a Tormentor here, it's nice. So, but please, don't think that that is a must pick or something that you really need. I promise you it's not. The only thing I would say that is genuinely much more important than any exotic you could run is a chill clip gun. I'm using Tenacious here, and honestly, that is the best you can possibly do. You have just your entire reserves basically able to be turned into a slowing shot, and even though it's a rocket sidearm, I think with chill clip on rocket sidearms they only apply 40 slow, obviously just because they've got more ammo. that really doesn't matter, because with a chill clip shot and a winter shroud dodge, that's enough to get a freeze off, and then that's all you need. As soon as the target's frozen, I think they take something like 1.7 times increased melee damage while frozen, and that's applying to knife stroke. So I talk about this in the main build video, I'll link it down below as well. But your whole kind of combo is Duskfield, knife, dodge, they're then frozen, and then knife again, dodge, frozen again, knife. And then if you can loop Prismatic into that afterwards, it's just like crazy spam. I mean, it's what you're seeing on screen. And even just against something like a single target, like a Tormentor, you can still see that you're able to loop your abilities super, super well. But when you've got loads of ads to work around as well, like, yeah, this build is seriously underrated. And one thing as well with this, and I love recommending builds like this, it is really flexible as far as what you actually use. I'm using Gunpowder Gamble and Winter Shroud, but Winter Shroud really is the only aspect that I would say you need to have it. If you wanted to run something like Threaded Spectre, you could, although I think you do get a slight hit to class ability regen. If you wanted to run something like Ascension, yeah, you could, absolutely. If you wanted something like Stylish Executioner, go for it. This build really is pretty flexible with what you can run. And that also goes for the fragment list as well. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But yeah, again, there is some stuff here that you maybe don't need. Like Facet of Dawn, for example. There's no barriers in this champ. There are no barrier champs in this GM. And that's a big reason why I would run that. So, you know, don't feel like there is anything that you have to run here. Change this build as you want. It's really good for that. It's super, super flexible. For the rest of it, the super in this build as well is, again, really flexible. I really like Silk Strike because it's got cool interactions with what I've got at the minute, where you actually benefit from Winter Shroud during your super. So for this strike, for example, where you have got overloads and unstops, in one dodge you have overload stun, and in two dodges you have unstop stun. It just makes it a super consistent super. And as well, it's a roamer, so it charges up really, really quickly. And yeah, it got I think a tuning damage pass. I say recently, it wasn't that recently, but not all that long ago either, where roaming supers just got really, really solid damage buffs, and this was included in that, so it's great for killing champs now as well. You can normally kill a champ, and you'll probably still have about half a super left. Plus, it's also a nice safety net. And as well, when you finish your super, if you have spent both your dodge charges before going in, they're just immediately refunded on coming out of your super. So it's great for ability rotations as well, and if you just want to spam a bunch of stuff. But yeah, again, don't feel locked into using just Silk Strike here. Something like Golden Gun could work really nicely. Something like Silence and School could have some cool interaction with Winter Shroud, because you get 300% increase class ability regen on slowing something. And again, Silk Strike as well, if you're looking at content like GMs, it's unstop stun, it's overload stun. It's really, really good for dealing with those two champs specifically, so that's nice as well. And yeah, that's kind of the build, or at least what makes up the build. I already kind of talked a little bit about the combo before, but you know, that's mainly for if you're looking at just one big target, you can do that combo. This build is an absolute 1v1 bully. It picks its fights so, so well. It's just like that enemy there, they're going to get slowed, they're going to ignite a lot, they're going to be staggered lots because slow and ignition have pretty heavy staggers on them, especially ignitions. They're great at kind of just making enemies stop shooting and kind of stumble a little bit. So yeah, for stuff like that, it's really, really good. But again, you can just see now that you don't ever have to get locked into a specific combo either. There's no requirement for them. again, I love recommending this build because it's so flexible. You're never really committed to doing any one thing. And also, this build is just cool, man. I think I said this in the video, but it's a great build. But it's also so, like, flashy. It's got so much flair to it. It's just, yeah, oh, man, I love it. Just, I don't know why I didn't think of using this sooner. Because Unstop and Overload Strikes, it's like this build's thing. And I mean, with Facet of Dawn as well, you see how many throwing knives this build can throw. Amazing for doing barrier champs as well. If I was to look at a build and go, right, okay, I need to take this into a piece of content where there are triple champs, so barrier, overload, unstop, it's this one. It just does it all. And does it all within the subclass as well, so you're not tied to anything on the artifact as well. I mean, like this sidearm, for example, literally just Tinashes being a chill clip and also anti-barrier, that is all three champs that it can deal with. And it's one gun. It's nuts. It's like ridiculously good. On top of the fact that it just has synergy with the build as well. It's 100% my recommendation for this build. And that's even before we have seasonal artifact stuff working in here as well. One thing I will say, you're seeing me use an arc heavy machine gun here, and you'll also probably be seeing the bolt strike, lightning strikes happen sometimes. That is not something that you're going to be seeing in the future. We have just, or at least at the time of recording this, we've just had bolt charge released as part of this, oh, not season, episode. We've just got bolt charge released as part of this episode, and just by having a weapon that can give you stacks of bolt charge, this LMG has Rolling Storm on it, you're able to get amplified, which is 15% damage resist and enemies are less accurate shooting you, all the benefits that amplified comes with as well, but it also gets you access to the lightning strikes that you can make. And those at the minute in the, what do you call it? I can't change my mind thinking seasonal artifact. That might even still be what it's called. Anyway, you've got loads of synergy. It heals you. When you stun champs, you get max stacks of bolt charge. And then this build as well with Knife Trick, as well as Duskfield, their lingering abilities, they last for a while, with Knife Trick having the Scorch, and Duskfield obviously just being the slowing kind of area itself. So you've got loads of time to kind of get those lightning strikes off. It's really, really good. I'm actually going to be quite sad when we lose a lot of the seasonal artifact stuff because, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's really nice to have in the build. This is I'm using a Gunpowder Gamble version of this build, so the build leans more towards wanting to have solar weapons, but yeah, I don't know, having bolt charge in the build feels really, really nice actually. Something where I might genuinely go and consider not running solar weapons and losing out a little bit on getting some of that Gunpowder Gamble recharge, but being able to get the lightning strikes off. It's just, it feels worth it. I know obviously it's like crazy good at the minute because of the seasonal artifact, but even so, I'm really leaning towards actually keeping a setup almost exactly like what you're seeing in the future, just because it's melee energy, it's like an ignition level amount of damage, and the lightning strike, it's really good. It's stuff that this build loves. Yeah, and to be honest, that's kind of the sum of it. If I was to talk about playstyle with this build, you have got to be confident. This is not a build where you can kind of just be like, oh, I'm maybe going to half commit to this. It doesn't happen with this build. I'll be fully honest with you. I wiped quite a few times just because I wasn't really committing to some fights. You have got to have the confidence that the build is just going to work, going to give you what you need. And this build, I know inmost coyote, obviously you lose something like Certarachnes for healing, but this build has still got some really good survivability. You've got Facet of Blessing, where you get health regen starting on your melee kills. You've got Facet of Mending, which has got really cool interaction with Facet of Blessing as well and Knife Trick, because this mainly works with Hailfire Spike, but if you throw Hailfire and it then switches to its Scorching side, because the Scorch that originally got applied was from your grenade, if you then throw a Knife Trick and that ignition goes off and gets kills, that's considered kind of like a grenade ignition, and that will proc Mending, which if you've got Hailfire, that's going to be Mending ×2 because it gets double when you're in Transcendence. So it's, I recommend if you want to see the interaction that this build has, you kind of don't see it here, but it's happening in the background. It's just, there's a lot of cool stuff that this build can do that you don't see at surface level, but absolutely is there. Yeah, here, I mean, you can kind of see the gist of the build. Throw knives, throw dust field, get supers. The mod setup for this build as well is double dynamo and triple distribution. Double dynamo is 4% super energy and triple distribution is 4 again. So it's 8% of a super on dodging. Obviously we've got Coyote, we've got Winter Shroud. If you look at the class ability the next time I use it, you'll see how quickly this thing goes up. Again, this is more interactions that I talk about in the video, but Knife Trick is amazing at using inmost lights, because when you apply Scorch, those Scorch ticks are considered as basically reprocking ability damage. So inmost light then goes, right, okay, we'll extend the timer. If you land a full fan of knives, I think it's something like 15 seconds of inmost light regen that you get. It's really, really consistent at spamming abilities. If you want a build that just always has fuel in the tank, this is it. I genuinely cannot think of a moment, and you'll see it in this footage as well, I'm sure if you've got this far, you've been watching, you'll see that it just does not lose steam. That is just not a thing that this build does at all. You've always got a melee to throw, a dodge to do, a super to hit. It's just got that awesome playstyle. My favorite build that is in the game currently is a inmost light Certarachne Duskfield Withering Blade build, and that is like this. In fact, I think from a while back I did a Fallen Saber solo gem. You see it get used there, and that again is like this. It's just so amazingly spammy, it just doesn't ever run out. And yeah, in fact, that was kind of like the framework for this build, where I made that one first, and I was like, hold on, this there's something to this inmost light perk, and then just go and tried a load of stuff, and then got to this. So yeah, if you like what you're seeing in the background, I really, really encourage you to go have a look at that one, because yeah, that's an awesome build as well. But yeah, you can see, just talking about the build, another example, you just build up Transcendence pretty easily. You can see that Icebreaker is helping out quite a lot here. Dustfield, obviously. You see me do it there. Even if there aren't enemies nearby, don't be afraid to dodge. Just hit that, and you know, it's free energy for your melee and for your grenade. So, you know, like, I literally have nothing else to do here, so might as well. And yeah, that's kind of it. I guess from now I'll just talk about a little bit of the gameplay. Yeah, you can see right here, you can see empowered abilities ×2. It just is stuck at ×5. That is all from Knife Trick. You can see, like, this distance here, we're not really getting ignitions off on Knife Trick. Okay, there you go. You can see that I just got one, but as soon as I land the next volley, you'll see that it will just get stuck at ×5, and that's just because it's 60 Scorch and then it ticks, literally the exact thing that we talked about just before. One thing that I really like with Knife Trick as well is that you can kind of flick it to control the direction. If you literally just hit the button and you don't move your mouse or joystick at all, you'll see that it goes out in literally a fan of knives. But if you just slightly turn to the left or flick to the right a little bit, your knives will become either much more compact and tight, or they will fan out even more. I think I tried to do that just before when I was fighting the Tormentor. You'll see there is an example where I kind of like flick it because I'm wanting to get Scorch on 3 different targets. I think I ended up missing 2, but against the point, you know, I tried. It's not always the most consistent thing to land at range, but you know, oh well. But yeah, I'm trying to think what else I talked about in that video. I did it a while back. I think it was something like 4 months ago. And yeah, that melee tech. Yeah, I think that's most of it. Again, I cover this in a lot more detail in the build video, so you've got the entire thing here, you know what's being used. If you literally just want to skip ahead to the interactions part of that video, there's some cool stuff there. Oh, I don't know how I forgot to mention this. Winter Shroud also just gives like a 50% damage resist for 3 seconds on dodging, which is great. Something that genuinely has saved my life on more occasions than once, but yeah, use them and abuse them because it's pretty good. And yeah, with those dodges as well, once one is off cooldown, you also really want to try using, because with double dynamo distribution before, a lot of our super regen is coming from just hitting dodges. If you're like 16% super, oh sorry, 16% away from your next super, then yeah, just hit the double dodge and you'll be good. Oh, I remember this when I was doing, for the life of me, I could not kill this overload. I slowed it, which is overload stun, and like threw dust fields at it. I'm pretty sure I go Transcendence. I throw a Hellfire Spike, literally at this overload, just being like, please, can this thing stun? And then it just sticks to nothing. I think you literally see it just flying in the air. And I was like, what? What is going on? Hold on. I think it's the one stuck to it. Okay, yeah, that one I just threw. Look. Look at it. It's just like, I don't want to stick today. But yeah, you can see this normally isn't the, as you were saying before, not the typical experience you get with an overload. And then look, it starts out healing the beam. I'm like, what is going on? This thing does not want to die. And I almost die in the process as well. Was it the world's hardest overload to kill? Oh, also, facet of purposes in the build. And that is one thing that is quite nice about switching up your super, is that you get different keywords. If I ever run Goldie, which honestly I could have done here, I think in this boss room specifically, it would lead to a faster clear because, you know, he's got a big crit spot. That's what Goldie does. It would be faster in the Tormentor area as well because I can spam that super. It's considered a roaming, so it kind of got thrown in with all the roaming super changes. So it's got some really, really good regen, and obviously with this build, it's percentage-based regen on dodging as well, so you get them pretty fast. But yeah, that would be a quicker run, but potentially not as safe a run. I like having Silk Strike as kind of a panic button, just in case something goes really badly. I can always just hit that button and I know I'm going to be safe for 15 seconds or however long it lasts. But with Facet of Purpose and Goldie, you get 5 seconds of restoration on picking up an orb, and that is seriously good. I always think of the solar supers as being maybe not the best, but if not the best. It's just, restoration is such a good keyword to have. It's a massive safety net. Don't get me wrong, Woven Mail is great too. I'm pretty sure 50... I always get confused between how much Woven Mail gives you and how much Sever cuts enemies damage by. I'm like 99.9% sure it's 50% damage resist and 45% damage nerf to your enemies on being severed. I don't know. I haven't looked at I haven't looked at Strand in a while. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, just restoration, it's such a crazy good keyword. And the fact that you get it on just picking up an orb makes it, if you're using the right build and you're making a lot of orbs with a setup that has heavy-handed, firepower if it's grenade, just siphon mods on your helmet, honestly, probably better than something like healing grenade, Ember of Empyrean. You know? It's... okay. Healing grenade, Ember of Empyrean, aside from Warlocks, where they just get 2 times resto, and then they literally can't die. But apart from that, I honestly think it's better. It's just so reliable. You need a couple weapon kills, or a melee kill, or a grenade kill, and you're just off to the races. You get free survivability and a crazy good keyword. That is the big pro of running Goldie. You get that. And genuinely, it's something that you should consider. Although, speaking of, Silence in School also just got better because Bungie was like, we feel like Frost Armor could do better. And then they just cranked its damage resist up massively. I can't remember exactly what to, but I remember looking at it and thinking that it was better than Woven Mail, I'm pretty sure. If you're curious, it's something you might have to go check, but I remember seeing somewhere in patch notes that they tweaked up Frost Armor to just give you like a load more damage resist, which obviously with Faceted Purpose is great. I think it's 10 seconds of Frost Armor on picking up an orb, which makes chaining it really easy. But on Stasis as well, with... what's it called? It used to be Rhyme that gave you. Again, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't looked at Stasis in a while. But, yeah, that now gives you, obviously, can take you up to the very max. So, something to think about as well with Silence in School. And that's the run. There you go. Build complete, video over. I'm pretty sure I'll go through the build in a second, and then you can actually see everything that I was definitely using here. Let me just break it down. Drip check 2. Damn. And there you go. 314 kills, 100 orbs. Pretty good. Yeah, Silk Strike, although again the super doesn't matter. Knife Trick, Duskfield, GPG, Winter Shroud, Hope, Dawn, Ruin, Purpose, Mending, Blessing. There's stuff in there that you can tweak. And then Chill Clip to Niches, Icebreaker, and then Field Prep Rolling Storm. And then this is the mod setup. And then just the Season Last Fat mods here. The main ones that felt really good was the... Heavy Machine Gun gives you just a free 25% damage resist in the final column. And then the arc stuff as well. That's really what's impactful. Anyway, that's about it from me. So,